Ready, set. We've got spirit. Yes, we do. We got spirit. How about you? In the 8th grade, and yes, I know that was a long time ago for me, I was a spirited, spunky cheerleader for Woodmore Junior High. Go Wildcats! When you're a cheerleader, your job is to provide leadership for the crowd and supply energy and enthusiasm, even when things aren't going so well. Early on, I learned my leadership wasn't just about doing jumps, stunts, and an encouraging shout. What really brought the best to my abilities was when I used all of my spirit in my interactions. I realized spirit was found in what I say and do. The poet Ralph Waldo Emerson brilliantly observed that the foundations of a person are not in matter, but in spirit. And that got me thinking, what if the foundations of leadership are in matter, but not in spirit? Spirit infuses everything in our life. There's warrior spirit, there's family spirit, there's team spirit, there's Burning Man spirit. And of course, there's leadership spirit. Spirit influences everything from our physical well-being to our leadership skills. Spirit certainly permeates our effectiveness as a leader. Whether you are the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, a C-level executive, a teacher, a parent, or the one in charge of yourself, you are a leader. And as the research shows, the gap between good leaders versus extraordinary leaders is all about spirit. This gap, though small, is paradoxically quite substantial. Think of it like losing those last few pounds. It isn't much, but it can be the difference between getting your pants on versus fully zipped up. I don't know about you, but I want to go outside with my pants fully zipped. Spirited leaders recognize how you lead reaches well beyond just goods and services. And in fact, according to the authors of The Extraordinary Leader, Joseph Folkman and John Zenger, they interestingly say that one of the manifestations of spirited leadership is increased profitability. Somewhere between 7 and 9 times of that of those considered to be a good leader. My experience with good versus spirited leader is this. I may forget what you say, but I don't forget how you make me feel or what you do. But what is spirited leadership? I propose that spirited leadership consists of truth, faith, and personal growth. And when these 3 things are balanced and anchored in solid footing, they provide strength, support, and lift for everything that follows. Let's explore these, and let's start with truth first. Spirited leaders know that truth is non-negotiable. We all know that telling the truth can often be inconvenient, but the clearer you see things, the better picture you get. Think about when you go to the eye doctor and you're sitting in a chair and the doc says, is 1 better or 2? 3 or 4? And after a few rounds of this, you suddenly realize, you know, I can see so much better. It's probably why I hit that car in the parking lot. Truth is like that. It provides a lot of clarity, especially when there are a multitude of different lenses to look through. Spirited leaders know that truth makes you transparent. It strengthens your relationships and it deepens your reputation. When you lead with the truth, people are much more likely to follow. When you lead by lies and deceit, you are forever convincing people of the truth, and hardly anyone will follow. How many of you have a cell phone? Good, people are listening to me. 40 years ago, when Bill Gates started Microsoft, his dream was to put a computer in everyone's home. Steve Jobs would come along and he would put a cell phone, a small computer, in everyone's hands. No one can deny that these 2 leaders had a sense of unwavering faith. They had a belief in something for which there was absolutely no proof, even when others thought they were a little bit nuts. Spirited leadership requires this type of faith, and the proof of this faith is in the proverbial pudding. Faith in leadership requires small steps and consistent results to earn the trust, faith, and confidence of others. It's also required when things aren't going so well. Walt Disney's story is a great example of this. Between the years of 1919 and 1923, Walt Disney had 2 failed businesses under his belt. In July of 1923, he and his brother Roy would move to Hollywood and they would start Disney Brothers Studios. While there, they came up with an animation series called Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and it was profitable, and in 1928, it came time to renegotiate that contract with the distributor. Now imagine Walt's surprise when he walked into that renegotiation meeting to learn that all of his staff had been plundered except for one employee. To make matters worse, somewhere along the line, Walt had lost all the rights to the Oswald series. This was Walt's strike 3, and it would have been easy for him to just give up then and there. But instead, he leaned into his faith, and he used all his failures as opportunities to build something greater. Shortly after that meeting, Walt would go on to create Mickey Mouse. And we all know how that came out. Walt would also go on to give us the happiest places on earth, if not the most expensive places on earth. Walt left a legacy that survives globally some 70 years later. Faith did not make things easy for Walt, but it did make things possible. The last foundation of spiritual leadership, and my favorite, is personal growth. As the research shows, leaders are not born, they are made. How are they made? Through challenges, experiences, and as Socrates would say, by knowing thyself. Knowing thyself is a lifelong process of digging through all your stuff, weighing your options and choices very carefully, and discovering the treasures that lie in the murkiness of life. It isn't easy, and you got to keep at it, but good things do come from bad experiences. We all have a story, and today I'm going to share just a little bit of mine. In 1996, I was 33 weeks pregnant with my first of 3 children. Like any new mama, I couldn't wait to meet my baby. One evening, my husband was out of town, he was on a business trip, and I woke up and I just felt something wasn't right. I got up, I turned on the light, and when I looked down, I was standing in a pool of red. I headed to the hospital, and later that day, I gave birth to a beautiful, dark-haired baby girl named Alex, who would never take her first breath. I was devastated, and it rocked my world to the core. About 5 months later, I'm driving in my car, I'm sobbing uncontrollably, and as I approach the hill near our home, I suddenly hear a very firm voice say in my head, "You are not crying for me, you are crying for you." And in that moment, I knew this was my daughter's soul, her essence, whatever you want to call it, and her words crushed me because I knew that they were true. From that day forward, I began to lead myself out of my self-imposed prison, not through my words and my thought, but through the leadership contained in my head and my heart. I went out and I searched for truth. I hung on to any strands of faith I could find, and with a lot of guidance, I dove deeply into the depths of personal growth. Here's what I have experienced. The personal growth ride, especially when you're starting out, it's completely magical. The talk is so enchanting, and it's really easy to get caught up in all those elevated words and concepts. But as I quickly learned, talking the talk and walking the walk are 2 separate things. Talk is often cheap, but our actions and our behavior is symbolic of everything we think, feel, and do. Walking the walk says a lot about us without the use of words. To be honest, when I lost Alex, it would have been an easy choice for me to just lay down in the mud and continue to swim circles. But when I finally chose to actively search for my truth, have faith in faith, and walk through the pain, I discovered a treasure trove of jewels and gems I would not have discovered had it been any other way. And for that, I am extremely grateful. That's what the foundations of spirited leadership do. They provide energy and movement to get things going, even when things aren't going so well. Losing my daughter gave me a new awareness of what leadership is and what it entails. I learned, and I will continue to learn, to not only talk the talk, but more importantly, to walk the walk and use the foundations of spirited leadership to effectively lead myself and others. Because the truth is, if you can't lead yourself effectively, it's very difficult to do it for others. Consider this for a moment. Think of the foundations of spirited leadership as a cheerleading pyramid, where truth, faith, and personal growth provide strength, support, and lift for everything that follows. What happens when that base is weak? The entire pyramid may implode, bringing down everyone and everything with it. And how do I know that? Because I was that little 8th grade flyer at the top. Truth, faith, and personal growth are the foundations of spirited leadership. They don't come from here. They start in here. Ready, set. We all have spirit. Yes, we do. We all have spirit. And in leadership and life, it starts with you.